Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. Now, normally we would do some brand new music today, and technically we're still going to abide by that in a way. When I saw the list for this week's theme of mid-year highlights, looking at some of y'all's favorite tracks that have come out this year, I saw an artist on there that caught my attention, primarily because I didn't know they made music. Today we're going to be looking at Ixie, and if you don't know about her, she's a YouTuber who has a brilliant mind and a keen ear and does a fantastic job of breaking down musical analysis into language that anyone can appreciate, anyone can digest and understand what she's talking about. In a lot of ways, if you enjoy what I do here, you'll probably enjoy her channel too, as she also does the long form analysis. Sometimes she does do reactions, but you'll also get more traditional, I guess you could say like video essay style, less scripted, but definitely something that she's heard before and knows what she's going to be talking about, kind of the direction she wants to take the discussion in. And like I said, just a brilliant mind. If you like musical analysis, I highly suggest checking out her page. I'll have a link to it in the description below. But I found out that she released an album this year. And so I'm going to choose the song that was requested off of that. We're going to be looking at the track, Your God. So let's dive into this and see what Ixie is bringing to the table today. Nice atmosphere, a little ominous but inviting. Lots of space left in the mix. Ooh, all of that open, or all the filling in the space with the wide reverb completely shifted away here, as we have these very sharp, short percussive strikes, leaving all this open space. Cool vocal textures on the outskirts. We have the formant shifting for the harmonies. Still working with that comfortable eeriness. Keeping the sharp harmony, the sharp rhythm, but filling in that space with this synth that sits above everything. It's interesting. I think it's moving really quickly between a lot of notes, but it feels static, like a drone. I hope that comes up in the next chorus. I want to check that out again. It's the little details in the backgrounds. Love to hear that stem in isolation. It sounds constantly in flux, but to me it feels droney too. Great showcase of the little textures on the outskirts. Lots of build-up and tension through space here. The whispery, ethereal vocals don't really have a place in the mix. They're just sort of existing. Constant layers. We have this rising energy in this low-end synth. The crescendo. Dude, there was one chord in the middle of that in the vocals that just hit. You know, it's interesting, and there's a bit of longing in this. Wistfulness? No longing. Yeah, just a nice abrupt ending there. All right. Very cool track. Exceptionally emotive, too, and I think that's the part that I'm really going to lean on with this analysis. The beginning of the song has a strong focus on spaciousness. I had mentioned that right from the start. We have the vocals coming in with a ton of reverb on them. They're very airy, very ethereal. They're kind of, I don't know if they were moving across the x-axis, or if there was maybe I don't know, some sort of sonic illusion going on there. But it felt like it didn't really have a place. It was everywhere and nowhere. We have a bunch of synths underneath that just take up a lot of space. It just feels very full here. And a lot of that gets cut out and carved away when the verse kicks in, and we get these very sharp staccato percussive hits. You get the attack and then a very quick decay off. You don't actually hear too much of the reverb or like a resounding sound coming off of the drums. You get the hit and then that's it. And what it means is that it creates these pockets of space between the percussive hits, and we really only get a few of them, 3 or 4 per phrase. So there's a lot of room within this. The vocals tighten up too. We get something that's a bit more localized and physical, and it creates this feeling of presence. Actually, I'm going to do a little wordplay here. It creates a feeling of presence as well. The etherealness was sort of everywhere, everything. It doesn't really feel like it has a place temporally or physically, but here, because of the sharpness of the percussion hitting now, because the vocals kind of coming in, losing that reverb, and once again, you get the vocals here. You don't get too much of a follow over into the time after the note has been stopped. You get the note here and now. And so it really brings everything into a present presence. So dumb. But I really like that. The wordplay, the bad wordplay aside, it's a great idea to kind of scoop everything in and bring it focused and allow the listener to get this feeling of right here, right now, this physical feeling. And of course, as we have crafted and scooped out all this space and left this almost hollowness in the song, the verse, the chorus comes in with the synth and fills all that in. It is a big synth. It sits at the top of everything. And I still would love to hear the stem of this in isolation because I don't know what's going on with it. Truly, it feels like it's in constant flux, but it ends up feeling very drony. I think every 4 bars, give or take, it does have a note shift to it. I don't think it was totally static, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's like tremolo or if it's, like I said, I kind of heard like a quick rundown, 16th notes, just doodle doodle do. Actually, that might even be faster than 16, depending on how you're feeling the tempo of this, because it's very easy to feel a faster and a halftime tempo on this. Really depends on what you're paying attention to. Anyways, it feels like fast movement, but it's so subtle. And as far as I can tell, like I said, it just kind of feels like a drone. So I'm really curious what's going on there. But regardless, it does fill the space here. So just looking at the intro, the verse, and the chorus, we have something that we can't grab, we can't touch, we can't place, very ethereal, into something very directed in the present, in the now, very physical that we can grasp, but feeling empty. And the chorus fills that space in. We went from something that you couldn't touch to something that you can touch and fills a lot of space. That is a wonderful progression just through those 3 sections. Now, another thing I want to touch on before we get into the bridge and the outro is textures, ornamental ideas, everything that sits on the outskirts. And there's so much to talk about here, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of it too, as there's so much to dive into on this, which is honestly quite impressive for a pop-oriented track. For me to say, dude, there's a lot going on here. Not to say that pop can't have a lot of depth to it. And honestly, probably once you start getting into the production side of things, which is where I tend to falter as far as analysis goes, it probably is a lot of really cool stuff to learn from pop music, because pop producers are, as far as I'm concerned, kind of magicians. They could take very simple ideas and turn them into ear candy that half the world enjoys, probably more than half the world. So it's impressive what they do, and I don't want to discount that at all. But here I find that there's a lot of compositional stuff to dig into, which is, like I said, just not so common in the world of more pop-oriented music, at least what I've been introduced to. But on the outskirts of all of this, there's little twinkling sounds, very light, bright, thin synth tones. Um, Frequently, though, what I notice is descending pitch patterns. There is a constant feeling of falling in this song, but only on the outskirts. It's something you don't notice when you just check out the song, but is there in some places that you'll pick up on a second or third listen or something like that. And I'm curious what that ties into the rest of this song. Because to me, it's mostly a song about rising up, not having a place, and then crafting a place for yourself to be, finding a home for yourself. Um, it's a song about rising up in your place. So it's interesting that there's descending lines that usually represent negative elements to this. Maybe the lyrics will cue me into that. Maybe it's just ear candy. Maybe it just sounds great. Going up sounded weird. Going down sounds perfect. Stick it in there. So, I mean, there's always that. Music can sometimes just be aesthetic choices. But there's all of these interesting whispers going on. Go back to that first verse, because I don't remember them in the second verse. But just listen to all of the little quiet, like, fry crackle stuff going on the outsides of the track. It adds so much really cool texture to it, but it also implies something interesting. If this is a physicality, if this is coming into form but missing something, this could be a part of the self that is, I don't know, listing the things that you're missing. It could be a part of the self that is bringing you down. It could be the negative thoughts in the mind. It could be naysayers from outside the mind too. People on the outside who are trying to bring you down, trying to make you feel more incomplete. I don't know. It sounds great though, and the production on them is fantastic, even though they are quieter and not having that full vocal resonance. Like I said, some of it's fry crackle, just really getting to that lower sounds with the lack of. I don't know. I'm not a vocal coach. I don't know how that stuff works. I can just do it. Um, but it sounds crisp, it sounds clean, it's present in the mix. It's really well done. And like I said, it sounds great too. And I think that's really my big takeaway. If I forget to mention this again while I'm on this topic, this song is pretty palatable. Like I said, it's pop oriented, there's a catchy melody in it, it's well produced, all of that, but it's also deep compositionally. And I think this is definitely what I talk about when I say that I prefer music that is balanced, where there is things to dive into, but it is also palatable on the surface. I like songs that sit in like the middle of those two worlds. Of course, I like simple pop music too, and I like super complex stuff. I like jazz, I like classical, I like prog metal. I like the more complex stuff, but generally I'm going to gravitate towards something that sits in the middle of those two worlds, and I think this is a track that does that well. Um, what's next on the list? Let's dive into the bridge. I thought this was pretty cool just because I remembered that the song was like 5 minutes long, but I didn't remember that until after the song was over. I knew that going in though. It's YouTube. You see the length of the song at the beginning. But it kind of surprised me when the bridge went on as long as it did. We had this really nice instrumental bit to the middle of the track that extends for quite a while. That's another thing you just don't see in pop music too often is, a focus on the instruments to allow the atmosphere to breathe, to tell the story through something other than words. And I thought that this was well done. It also had something that I enjoyed in the music a lot that goes along with the narrative storytelling is dynamics. This was a bit of a slow burn. We kind of bring the song down to more of a baseline, minimal sound floor and build up from there. We have rising volume, we have rising complexity of harmony. The chords are getting more interesting. We have more layers, more instruments coming up. This happens over the course of, I don't know, a minute and a quarter, maybe. It takes its time, but it isn't too long either. And I really love this moment to just breathe and take it in and just like, what's going on here? Let me zone out a second and feel it. But I also think this is interesting storytelling wise because the rising complexity and the rising volume and the rising, just all of this intensity, it feels like the world's coming in around you. It feels claustrophobic, and then it explodes into the chorus. If this song is about trying to find one's place and basically going against this feeling of emptiness, or maybe people telling you you don't fit or whatever, this is all of that noise coming in, and your feeling of uncertainty, your feeling of not being accepted, this kind of stuff. And the explosion is back to the chorus where you are full, where you have your place, where there is no emptiness, where you're physically present. And it's just pushing all of that out of the way and says, no, this is where I belong. So I enjoyed this section just atmospherically. I think it sounds great. I've already talked about the production. I've talked about some of the melody lines and the textures and all of that stuff. But it's also narratively sound. It presents a counter to the chorus. It makes sense to go to the bridge. It isn't simply because the A-B-C-B pattern is how we construct music generally. No, this C section feels purposeful. It is designed to act as a foil to the chorus, which is supposed to be our most resonant self, and give another bit of storytelling of saying, look, you might reach some low points, things might feel like they're coming in around you, but you can still beat them. And it shows that through the music. Absolutely wonderful. I love that moment. Plus, this was where I guess we should transfer this into the emotive element here. This was a moment of the song where I really started to pick up a feeling of longing. And now that I remember it, maybe this feeling of claustrophobia is wanting something that you don't have and feeling like you're stuck in this place and wanting more. But there was one specific chord in here. The vocal harmonies had shifted quite a bit. We saw a lot of formant shifting in the verses, which is just pitch shifting on vocals, and there's probably some more technical elements to it. But it's what gets us those really low tones that harmonize with, I'm going to assume, something closer to Ixie's normal voice or typical singing range. And we're basically harmonizing with digitized versions or digitally altered versions of the vocals. But here in the bridge, I hear what I think is more vocal harmonies that are not formant shifted, that are just Ixie singing a backing track and applying it to another track that she sang on. And this creates something that feels to me a bit more normal. I've never really been a big fan of formant shifting for harmonizing vocals. It works, it's fine, but my ear, it's a modern sound that I haven't adapted to too well. And that's definitely a skill issue. I'm not saying that it's a bad tool in a producer's toolkit, just not something I've just haven't heard a lot of it, and I haven't heard any of it that I think have really sat with me in a way that I'm like, dude, that was excellent. It's always something it's fine. And this is another case. This one didn't blow my mind with it. It's fine. I probably would have preferred some other way of doing it, but if you want to harmonize notes out of your range, that's definitely a solid way to go about doing that. But I really like this section here, which is just more of the cleaner, not totally unproduced, but less produced vocals. And this sounds a lot more resonant to me. It feels like a force wanting to grow and explode and just push everything else out of the way, something that's untouched. And there were a couple chords in here that were formed alongside this texture difference as far as harmony goes. And that just, dude, it just hit me hard. Something about this buildup. It was the last like 4 chords before coming back to the chorus. So good. So good. But anyways, longing. A feeling of wanting something more. And the beginning of the song I mentioned was creepy or eerie, but inviting. I'm really curious how this plays out because I think generally throughout the song this matches. This is a song that is, I would say generally speaking, warm and comfortable, comforting. Definitely a place that you can feel that you can be yourself in. Aside from the lack that some of it feels less physical or emptier or hollower, it's still a song that generally feels like a place of safety. There aren't any, really tense harmonies. We don't have a lot of dissonant stuff going on in this. But it is dark. It is moody in a lot of ways. And I find that to be an interesting combination. On the one hand, it could just be that Ixie wanted to make palatable, darker music, not getting into, super nitty-gritty, disgusting noise side of music, but definitely wanting something with a bit more of a darker or possibly gothic flair to it. And this is the combination of that, some sort of bubblegum darkness. Although bubblegum I don't think necessarily captures it either. It's not super bouncy and poppy. It is just more palatable. I don't really have a phrase for that. Just, inviting darkness, inviting eeriness. That's the only phrase I have for this. The only part that really feels tense is the bridge. So we have a song that's a little, oh, you know who it actually reminds me of a little bit? Y'all remember Curly from like the late 2000s, early 2010s? Yeah, kind of that. Not like identical, but that sort of darker sound overall, but still palatable, still poppy, still mainstreamish. Yeah, I haven't thought about that artist in forever. I'm gonna have to go check them out again. Anyways, back to this. If you're new here, I ramble. I get off track. Anyways, I'm curious how much of the lyrics are going to tie into this because I think the song does a great job of showing someone that's a little bit outside the norm who just wants to find a place that they feel safe, and they do so in the chorus. There's a lot of negativity that surrounds them. We see that in the bridge, but they break through and find their place, their safety, their comfort by the final chorus. And at the end of the song, we get a couple of seconds of just the vocals by themselves, very defiant, very proud, very loud in the mix, and then it just ends, almost as if saying, this is it, this is who I am, everything's cool. Let's hit some lyrics, see what's going on there. I'm about to geek out on wordplay. Okay, this is fantastic. The song is not about our narrator trying to find their place, but our narrator helping others find their place. Or maybe even specifically an other, a very specific other. This is fantastic. Okay, so what's interesting too is that we hear the chorus 4 times and each one has different lyrics. I'm totally on board for that. I wish more music would do that. Very cool stuff. The lyrics are slightly different though. They're all plays off of a very similar structure, which helps tie them together in a very chorus-like manner without actually just repeating everything word for word. So anyways, I'm geeking out again. Let's get back to meanings. The beginning of the song actually starts with 4 lines. One is stated and one is in parentheses. I'd have to go back and listen to what's going on here, but I'm going to assume it's probably the center vocals and then some of the stuff that's existing on the outskirts of that, maybe some of the whispers or something. But we have, remember your center forms endlessly. And another voice says, remember your center anchored in me. I really like that. Not just that your center can form anywhere, that it is boundless, that you can find this feeling of calm and resolute anywhere, but that it's tied to me. I can be that calm for you no matter where we are. It says what matters and anchors you in meaning. The other voice says you matter and nothing has true meaning. It's so good. Couple of subtle shifts here, retaining core words throughout, and it embellishes on what's being stated here. Focus on what matters to you, and remember that you matter, and things only have meaning if you ascribe them to it. Don't let other things bring you down. Don't give them that power. Just remember who you are. So much is said in just 4 lines, and half of those are just modifications of the other. It says, I'll dance with your doubt, cradled in my mouth, choke all of your weapons with harmony. Everything that brings you down, I'll destroy it. Not with rage, not with anger or force, but with harmony. We're going to kill them with kindness. This is my favorite kinds. I love any message that is about, just being the nicest person and upset the idiots that way. Make people feel better by being a force of positivity. It's just like, I'm sold. We are 1 stanza in. We just finished the verse. I don't even care what the rest says. I'm sold already. The second verse says, I know you've been trying so desperately, can't push it off of you so easily. Inside you, it lies to protect your peace. This world is all around you, but you can't see. Now, there are a couple of words in here that provide sort of a second reading on some of this. Protect, also a voice on the outside says defend. It says this world is all around you, but in the background, there's this lush love is all around you. It says, but you can't see. So, there's this darkness. It hovers over you. It's tough to get away from it. They say, I get that. But there's so much beauty out here that this cloud is keeping you from seeing. From here, I want to get to the choruses, which all generally say that if I was your God, I would help you see the beauty in the world. It says, I'd beat down the walls and I'd climb in your bones and show you what I found, whatever it is you lost. You don't think you're good enough? Well, what makes you good enough, what makes you matter is deep inside. You lost it, but I'll find it for you. Another chorus says, I'd pull the heat down, I'd climb in your wounds and clear the words out no matter the cost. I would clean the emotional damage, the emotional wounds, allow them to heal up. I don't care what it does to me. I'm going to help you have better self-esteem. I'm going to help you see yourself in a better light. It says, I'd make you real now. I'd swallow you whole and show you who you are. And I'd love all of your worst parts. I'd let the grief down inside of your soul and show you I found that it wasn't your fault. All of this pain, all the negativity within you, someone else put that there. I'm going to help you realize that. I really like the bridge then. It says, remember, I will enter you carefully. I think this is a really nice thing to state here because already we had said that I'll climb into your wounds, I'll climb into your bones. But here, it's not forceful. It's a reminder that this is all done from a caring space and that I'm not doing this with harm in mind. I want to see inside. I want to find your heart. And I'll do that carefully. Whatever amount of time it takes for you to bring your walls down, I'm here for it. It says, without me, I know you will always be. And I really like that line because so much of this song kind of sits around the idea of I can fix you in a sense. I can help you find, the things that help you realize that you matter. I'm trying to help you see that you're important to me. But a lot of this is framed around the narrator. And I like this line. Without me, I know you will always be. I'm hoping to get you to a point, because I love you so much, that you can have that love for yourself. So that if I were ever to leave, you would still have that. You still exist as a person. You're still important, even if I'm not here to tell you that, even if I'm not here to help you through the dark times. This is a beautiful song about using love to heal emotional damage, emotional trauma, and I really love that. Definitely a message that we need today. We need more music like this. And I think a lot of this works with the ideas of inviting gloominess, right? A song that's trying to show that things are going to be better, to be going into someone's dark places with them, and to be finding that place, maybe as hollow as it is, and to fill it. Maybe it's their self-esteem. We want to make that larger. And hopefully in the bridge, they can shine through and be their own hype man to make themselves feel better and have that self-esteem even without us there. Absolutely gorgeous. I am sold on this track. I definitely have to check out the rest of this album, and I'm kind of mad at myself that somehow this slid under my radar despite knowing about Ixie's other musical ventures. So yeah, but as usual, these are just my thoughts on Ixie's Your God. What are yours? Did you enjoy this? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe you have your own interpretation of things. equally as valid as mine, anything. Go ahead and let me know down in the comment section. Put your thoughts, put anything down there. That wraps it up for today then. I think I've totally botched this. I lost my flow somewhere along the line. Put your thoughts down there. Above that, in the description box, is a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC. We're going to check out an entire album. Those videos usually go 3+ hours long. If that sounds like your jam, make sure you stop by for it. Otherwise, Sunday we'll do our live stream at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which usually goes for about 2 hours. We'll check out some music on that. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have an excellent, fantastic... Dude, I don't know why I'm so lost on this. Why can't I sign off today? Have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.